I also want to break down and shatter into a million pieces so that I can actually rebuild, but give them the tools to actually say, Mama, I'm not okay. And to that I say, all right, what do we want to do? We want to dance it out? Do we want to scream it out? Do we want to punch some pillows over there? Do we want to throw some things? And I think we have to be okay with our sadness and integrate that. We have to be okay with our anger, because if not, guess what?
Dr. Neeta Bhushan is a powerhouse in the world of emotional intelligence and transformation. With her groundbreaking book, That Sucked, Now What? She allows people to understand what it needs and takes to thrive in the most challenging times of life. She's a queen of resilience, and she's an angel in my heart, because I consider her one of my closest friends, and in a sense, my little sister. I'd like to welcome Dr. Neeta Bhushan to Welcome to the Know.
Oh my goodness. I'm so glad to be here. It's been a long time coming.
Yes, it has. If anyone knew the real story, which we might not have time to get into that today, behind how this friendship and family situation has worked through the years, I don't know, there's too much. We're going to take more than the time we have here. It's a lot. It's a lot.
Sure, it's a lot to unpack.
But let me, speaking of unpacking, your story is truly one of resilience, truly one of grit, and truly one of emotional intelligence. And this all started at a young age. Take us back there.
Yeah. I mean, they do call me the queen of resilience, reinvention, and grit, but I think it's ingrained in, being Filipino and Indian, right? And for me, growing up in Chicago, at the age of 10, I feel like that's when I grew up. I had to, as the oldest of 3 kids, my role was to, take care of the family. And it was only because my mom, who was Filipino, and this, my parents, they were immigrants from India and the Philippines. And of course, as we all did, you and I both growing up in the States, they wanted the American dream. And they worked really hard, and they put us in all of the things, ballet and piano and violin and going from place to place. But things kind of took a different turn when I was 10, because my mom was diagnosed with breast cancer. And at that time, it was just kind of either something that the community or family was hushing, because we have to keep it up for the Joneses, right? That saying. And or with my Indian father, my Indian Punjabi dad, he didn't really know how to receive. And so that took me through a trajectory between 10 and 19 where I would then lose my mom at the age of 16. I would lose my brother a year later to an asthma attack. And then 2 years after that, I would lose my father to lung cancer. And, before I was 19, I'm an orphan. And I'm basically the elder to my youngest brother, Vinay, who was about 14 at the time. And so, I think resilience is probably an understatement, because it was one of survival, and I think looking back, there was this tunnel for so many years of, are we going to get through this? Are we going to get through this? Or having this like gut-wrenching feeling of this. Now I have words for it, but back then I didn't know what those words were. Now we can say, oh, I was completely dysregulated. My trauma response, which is fight, flight, fawn, withdraw, basically, or dissociate. For me, it was just, either you're fighting all the time because you're like, okay, your nervous system is just like activated and overreactive, and that in other ways, it kind of presented as overachieving, working 3 jobs, success was everything, making sure everybody was happy around me, which for those of you watching, it's probably like, oh yeah, it sounds like my life, or it sounds like, and so, but that was completely ingrained in me. And so, yeah, in my 20s, I charted out as wearing this badge on my shoulder. Now with the books that I write, this particular book, I have a chapter of where it's all dedicated to the chip that I carried on my shoulder. Do you want guac for that chip on your shoulder?
Is that very Austin, Texas vibes that you're bringing over here?
Maybe a little LA. Maybe a little
LA. Speaking of Austin and LA, you have moved many places, and not just obviously with the family situation that you find yourself in, but even for your professional life. Even now with a family, what is it about moving to new or even maybe different places that you A, seek for, or B, find comforting?
Yeah, and I think, it goes back to those places where I did feel uncertain and places where I didn't, my home was completely taken from me. My home, safety, things that made me feel secure in my younger years, that I learned how to adapt really fast. I learned how to create community and family from, extended family members who helped raise us. I had a whole matriarch of my grandmothers, my lolas, my aunts on my dad's side who are called my bua. They all came together. And so because I had that sort of upbringing of extended family members and family friends really pouring into me creating this reinvention of leaving, from my cosmetic dental practice, because I became a cosmetic dentist in my late 20s, going through divorce. I was married once and completely hit a rock bottom moment. And that's how I opened up, my book, That Sucked Now What? But I think a combined lived experience of, okay, life is going to be uncertain. Let's see how you adapt. And, studies show that people who come from, it's either, it's Carol Dweck and her famous research, Stanford professor Carol Dweck, and she has this book that she talks about, you have the growth mindset and the fixed mindset. And definitely people who've been through really crazy, tumultuous circumstances, either you have 2 choices. Either you are going to sit in whatever sucked, or you're going to grow and rise like a phoenix, like we all are, out of it. And I think for me, it was, okay, I'm going to adapt, I'm going to grow, I'm going to change, I'm going to evolve, because for so many years, I couldn't. I was in this cloud of just, all right, I'm going to take care of my mom, I'm going to take care of this tragedy with my brother, I'm going to take care of, my dad being in and out of hospital settings for about 9 months. And then when I get into my 20s, of course I have this chip on my shoulder, but I also learn, all right, what it takes to be resilient and agile and grit. And the idea of moving to a new place doesn't scare me at all. In fact, it excites me, because for so many years, and there's another chapter in the book where I talk about the story where I finally found freedom after, having to be the good girl for everyone else and the one that everybody kind of leans on, where I go to, Loyola University, and they have another campus in Rome, and I apply for all of the scholarships because my Lola and my aunts, all of my titas and my bua, they were like, are you kidding me? Your dad just died. Why, how could you even go to, Rome out of all places and study abroad there? And I said, watch me, I'll do it. Got all of the scholarships. A year after my dad died, I landed up in Rome. And as soon as I got off the plane, I could just smell the air of, it was like the jasmine, the frangipani, the pasta. But, of course, Italy has a special place in my heart even to this day. But that was the first moment where I can look back to say, oh, this is what it feels like to really explore. And this is what it feels like to actually not have any worry in our heart or in my gut that I've been plagued by for so many years and decades of my life, that I can start over.
Yeah.
And I can reinvent myself. And I have a framework in the second part of the book, I call it the bounce factor, because we all have it. And I think many times we're so afraid to reinvent because change can be so hard. We're so afraid to think a different story in our mind because we think, oh, can it get any worse than where we are right now? And if you're feeling that way, if you're feeling like you're at a rock bottom moment or you're at a transition in life, or you're like, I'm at a crossroads and I don't know what the next step is, I promise you that uncertainty is like the bridge to your next chapter and your next evolution. But you've got to say yes to it.
Yes, absolutely. And you've said yes so many things in the multiple transitions and transformations that you've even had. I try to look at people's lives, and normally the path is you find a path of success or you find a path of challenge, which then that chip on your shoulder, as you say, becomes a path for you to be successful. And then maybe that success might become that first time overwhelming so much or may not be able to handle it. So now you drop down to the valley, as you and I know, as we call it, to get back on that mountain to find success. This has happened to you so many times, yet you continue to use grit and resilience and fight your way through. What do you believe, besides those words, grit, resilience, what do you believe has been your magic tool for yourself, that besides these values that are inherently in you, inherent in your culture, inherent in your blood, that you grabbed onto or used as an anchor to say in the most deepest parts and the most challenging times, you know what? I think I'm still going to make it.
There's joy in everything. And I think that's been my biggest, if you will, secret sauce or magic sauce. Like I still remember when my mom, she had stage 4 cancer, and she battled that cancer from when I was 10 till about 16. And the cancer had spread from her breast into her lungs and eventually her brain. But the last 3 months of her life, she was in the hospital setting. And I was, I think, about maybe a sophomore in high school at the time. But I remember bringing in like my friends from high school. They were from like the Filipino club because I was in Chicago at the time, and there's Indian club, and it was like international days, and they would bring in their instruments and they would play the guitar, and they would sing and we'd karaoke. This was before our phones, and just it was just, and that sort of community. By the way, I was a teenager. But that was just, we still wanted to have fun, and I still remember my mom, even though she was on a ventilator, she was like, her eyes would light up because we were all just goofing around, playing cards. And, I think at one point the titas would bring like mahjong and they would do that in card games. But that's there's slivers of joy that's accessible. And I feel like the duality of the dark times and the light, right? I think a lot of times if we are going through a period of hardship or circumstance or loss or divorce or any of that, we feel like we have to really dig our heels into it and say, oh my gosh, I can't have fun because I'm going to feel too guilty. I can't do that because I just lost somebody. I don't know if I can be around people. And there was a time where I thought that too. But boy, is joy so much juicier and sweeter and accessible if we actually say yes to the fun. Because I know in my heart of hearts, I'm so much fun. And when I met you, you were so much fun. And you were dancing on the dance floor. I feel like I remember when we first met, you were dancing. And I was like, okay, I can battle my kuya on the dance floor. Because just of our love of dance.
Yeah.
And I
or
think
entertainment in general. Yeah.
Perhaps, yeah, entertainment in general, and just being a magnet to then attract other people because other people are looking for that source of joy, and sometimes they just don't see it within themselves. And I think that has been a big gift of myself, is to, attract really amazing people wherever I go. And like you said, we literally just moved here where we are filming to Dubai a week ago. I've uprooted my family, and that's really the juice that we're working with now. Is there's joy in everything. Can you see it? Not that I'm bypassing the sadness.
True.
It's not that. It's can both sadness and joy coexist at the same time?
Are you teaching your kids these values, or are you letting them learn them on their own?
Oh, we're screaming into pillows. I think my kids sometimes think I'm crazy because they're like, wait, Mom, are you mad? Or you're angry with me, but we're going to kick the pillows right now? And it's so confusing sometimes. I have a 3-year-old and a 6-year-old.
Of course.
And it has...
Sweet kids, by the way. Absolutely sweet kids. Total explorers. Just like Mom.
They are.
And Dad, but mostly Mom.
They are. They're entertainers as well. Well, they got the Filipino genes. Yeah, I think that I think every generation, we always want to better ourselves. And I think with our parents' generation, they were taught what they were taught from their generation. And so it's like, don't do that, don't cry, don't, and don't do this. And for me growing up, I thought success, education, achievement was everything. That was my coping mechanism. That was my way of dealing with grief. That was my way of dealing with loss. That was my way of dealing with just absolute awful transitions in life. And there was definitely a consequence to that, because it would all come backfiring at me when I would hit my rock bottom, when I would hit my low moment, when I would hit the time where, December 31st, 2011, my life was threatened. I thought I was in a marriage with somebody that I loved, and I needed to admit that I was in this violent, domestic, abusive relationship, but that I also said yes to. And so now that I know better, now that I have the tools, I think the biggest tools that we can teach ourselves and our next generation is, how do we handle our emotions? And what does that actually look like? And so for us in our house, it's like every emotion is welcomed, which is probably why they are the loudest kids on the airplane. They are the loudest kids in any supermarket. Yes, I'm gonna let them scream. They are loudest kids in the Uber. Maybe because they're American, but who knows? And I want them to feel that emotionality, because the outside of that is, oh, Neeta, don't cry. You're strong. You're resilient. I've been told since I was a little girl, you're so strong. You're so resilient. What does that even mean? I also want to be soft. I also want to break down and shatter into a million pieces so that I can actually rebuild, but give them the tools to actually say, Mama, I'm not okay. And to that I say, all right, what do we want to do? We want to dance it out? Do we want to scream it out? Do we want to punch some pillows over there? Do we want to throw some things? And I think we have to be okay with our sadness and integrate that. We have to be okay with our anger, because if not, guess what? We're going to take it out on other people in the forms of resentment, in the forms of shaming other people, in the forms of putting other people down. But we have to, as a whole, integrate it within our own nervous system, in our own selves. Because I think if we only see the light in others or only see the dark in others. A lot of times we haven't integrated the light and dark within ourselves. So then how can we see that in our children and even shift that conversation forward?
Thank you for sharing that journey. I almost feel like you've taken me from since you were younger, quickly on that journey of the valley, of the challenges, the lifting up to where you are now. Because it's interesting, because that my next question would have been like, who is Neeta Bhushan now? And you've pretty much already answered it. So I love it because it makes it easier for my job. But what I'd like for you to do is, what message do you have for your younger self that you would say now, of who you are now, to who you were back then?
Yeah. I think now the message I would tell little Neeta is, it's going to be okay. Savor the slow. There's no need to sprint. Life is a marathon. You are exactly where you need to be. And there will be some dark days, but there will be some beautiful, glorious days. And just hang on. Yeah.
As we slowly wrap up this episode, you probably know the last question I'm going to ask you is, because I ask this to everybody, even on my daily life, is the gratitude letter is a letter that's written by hand, more often than not, by somebody, to give to somebody who they're grateful for. And especially if it's somebody they haven't spoken to in a while, somebody they had a fight with, maybe it's somebody they've never thanked. And as we both know, it is the most powerful tool in the world of positive psychology, because it not only allows our well-being scores from a scientific standpoint to be lifted up into the atmosphere, it also allows for that feeling to stay in for 3 to 4 weeks. So imagine by simply just writing this letter and giving it to somebody once a month, it literally will make you feel joyful and grateful and happy and have literally no problems in the world, in a sense. So I'm going to ask the question is, if you were going to write a gratitude letter to somebody that's alive right now, who would that person be and why? And I'd like you to say it on the camera.
Let's see. Okay. I think, wow. Well, that's a good one. I think I want to give it to whoever I've felt betrayed by in the past. Thank you for your gifts. Your gifts have been a reminder that I needed to love myself, and without those gifts, I would have never have grown. I would have never have evolved. And while they were painful, while they were challenging, I think it's served me so well. And I'm so grateful for it. So thank you for all of the pain and all of the transformation and the alchemy that has come as a result. I don't think I would have been where I am sitting today without it.
Wow, thank you for that.
So good.
Epic share.
That was a beautiful question.
What are you working on right now? What are you most excited about, and what do you have to share to people that are listening?
Yeah, well, I actually just did my very, very first TEDx talk. This was in Manila, and so it was such a beautiful homecoming because it was the first time in about 8 years that I'd gone back to the motherland to see my mom's side. And it was a very different talk, but I really am allowing myself to savor the slow. I think oftentimes we're so quick to get to the next thing, go to the next thing, achieve the next dream. And I say all of this while I'm in the land of dreams in Dubai, where everything is bigger, better, more efficient and everything. But can we take a moment to just savor where we are at right now? And this goes to your point of gratitude. But I think it's more so even the appreciation of where we are at right now, of can we be content with where we are and who we are, and just soak that up. Because in the act of constantly going after the next thing and doing after the next thing and chasing after the next thing, we're overtired, we're overworked, we are more depressed, we are more lonely, we are more dissatisfied with ourselves, and we're just forgetting that essence and that beauty of the now. And I'm just relishing in the fact that, yeah, there's chaos, that I just moved here as we speak, and acclimating to a new place and a new home and a new country, and getting my kids, acclimated, my amazing husband, and the beauty of savoring the now. All of that stuff is going to be great, but can we actually savor the slow and savor the now? Because there's so many things that want our attention at every given point in time. And there's, with AI and all of these things, I think it's just can we actually be present with ourselves, and can we just revel in the juiciness of what that is? And yeah, so for me, it looks like making chai and savoring those slow moments. And for those of my listeners who, have been following me for a while, they all know that I've been working on something, which is my own chai line, which is in the works. But I'm taking it slow. I'm taking it easy. It's not that it's going to drop tomorrow. I'm recognizing that, there's a lot that I don't know, and that there's, ups and downs and failures and challenges and all of that.
I mean, you've been through so many already.
And I'm like, yeah, let's swim in it. Let's bask in it, because there's so much to learn in the process of the doing, in the process of the creating. So this season is all about creation and savoring what is.
And so where's the best places for people to find out what you are savoring and what they can learn from you?
For anybody that's ever been through a sucky moment, or is in a transitionary time, or has lost someone, my book, That Suck Now What, is probably the best resource. And you can get it at thatsucknowwhat.com, and it comes with a 50-page guide to deepen your own relationship with yourself. And also, I drop 2 episodes a week on the Brave Table, which is our top 50 mental health and relationship show that's on YouTube. And yeah, I'm so grateful. So hopefully you can say hi if you're on Instagram at Neeta Bhushan.
Thank you very much, Neeta, for your time, your space, your wisdom, your resilience. Your story has always inspired me. You personally have always inspired me. I don't think I've known anyone for so many years that has always been my champion. And so for that, I am forever grateful. Tune in next time to another episode of Welcome to the Now, where we will find ourselves learning through the journey of somebody who's found success early, found a valley, yet found a way to get back to the top in the exact same field that they're in, or maybe somewhere else. Notice there's a lot of found. So hopefully you found this channel, you like, you shared, and everything else. See you next time on Welcome to the Now. My name is Erwin Benedict Valencia. Stay grateful.